Hey guys, welcome back to this place. If you are new, welcome here for the very first time. I'm Carmen, and today I'm very excited because we are delving into season 1, episode 3 of Dark. And I have really loved the mystery of this show so far and trying to figure out all the puzzle pieces and put them together. And I know that there's probably literally no way that I will. Sorry, I'm coming down with a cold. Just because I think that it's a very complicated show and it's one of those, I have a feeling, I don't know, but I feel like it's going to be one of those shows that when you watch back, you're like, wow, I see it all now, but you just kind of don't notice it all before, Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling a bit. There's one thing that I wanted to say going into episode 3 instead of my usual sort of recap. And, well, it kind of involves the recap, but last episode I wrote down that Birdman, which is just what I'm calling him, I'm sorry, at some point I will learn his name. I learned that he was staying in room 8. And I wrote it down because I was like, this could be important. And then, after I had shut the camera off and everything, I was thinking about the previous 2 episodes because, of course. And I was thinking about how in episode 1, when we first met Regina? Again, I'm very sorry. I'm trying to get the names, you guys. But when we first met her at the hotel, the Forest Winden Hotel or something like that, they made a point to show the frame of one key being missing from the wall of keys behind her, right? And in the episode with, the second episode, Birdman, when he went in to check out a room, all the keys were there. So, as the show has already told us, time is not linear, and, it's, did it say, circular? Hold on, let me go back to my notes. Yeah, time is a circle, right? And so everything's happening now and then, and, there's just this idea that the idea that we have of time going this way is incorrect. So, sorry to ramble at you guys at the beginning of this episode, but I think that must mean that we're not seeing everything in a linear way, which further complicates sort of our ability to decipher the narrative, because then we also have to decipher what is happening when, which of course makes total sense because the whole thing is not where is Mikkel, but when. So yeah, obviously Birdman checking into the hotel happened before her calling the bank, or the bank calling her in episode 1. Him checking in episode 2 happened prior to what happened in episode 1. Also, the door was closed in episode 1 and open in episode 2 when he checks in. So just small little details like that. I did go back and look at the scene just to clarify, you guys. I'm not just remembering everything. I went back and looked at the key scene because I wanted to see if I was right, and the key missing was room 8, and it was. So yeah, just I'm gonna try to pay even closer of attention now. I've been paying as close attention as I possibly can, but I'm gonna try to even more hone in. Sorry for rambling at you guys at the beginning of this episode. I am going to stop. You guys know what happened in the last episode, so I am going to figure out what's happening in this episode, and then we'll talk about it, and we'll see how much I can possibly miss in this one.
Wer sind Sie? Weißt du, wo ist? Weißt du, wo Mats ist? Tut mir weh. Was machst du hier? Nun sag doch was. Wann kommt er zurück?
Oh my god. It's the parallels and the layering of missing kids is kind of crazy if you think about it. She's moving too much. I can't read her name tag.
Ines, kannst du heute auch die Nachtschicht machen? Frau Schüttlers Tochter hat Fieber und ich muss den Benny um 6 zum Fußball fahren.
Ines,
Ich
that's...
dachte nur, du hast ja keine Verpflichtung.
Familie.
Ja, so wollte ich das jetzt nicht sagen.
Ist kein Problem.
Danke.
Isn't
Sagst du
Inez
bitte nicht zu Dr. Reimann?
the name of, yeah, that's,
Verschlossen und versiegelt.
Michael's mom and Eunice's grandma, right?
Bist du neu hier?
Ich suche meine Mama.
Ist hier nicht der Kindergarten?
Die ist die Direktorin.
Herr Hubert? Er ist vielleicht eine Schwuchtel, aber ganz bestimmt keine Frau.
Ist das dann hier nicht Winden?
Bist du nicht ein bisschen zu jung für Acid?
Habt ihr jetzt Geschi?
That's sad because that actually is his mom, although there would be no way that he would be able to, like, process that or understand that, most likely.
Und dann das.
Vielleicht ein Wolf?
Excuse me, sir.
Keine Bissspuren. Nichts.
What do you mean, a wolf? I'm sorry.
Vergiftet?
That would make more sense.
Ich
He's looking
suche
for
meinen
his
Vater.
dad. Yeah.
Wie heißt er denn?
Ulrich Nielsen?
Ulrich Nielsen? Der Ulrich Nielsen?
Arbeitet der denn nicht hier?
Nein. Und das wird er bestimmt auch nie.
I would not be very certain about that, sir.
Ach, das ist ein Witz. Ist das auf Ulrichs Mist gewachsen?
No. But I can't blame him for thinking that because it doesn't make any fucking sense. Oric's like 15 right now.
Hat er das gemacht? Hat Ulrich das gemacht? Wie heißt du?
Mikkel.
Weiter?
Nielsen. Ich bin Ulrichs Sohn.
Sag's mir jetzt, wie deine Eltern wirklich heißen und dann bringe ich dich nach Hause.
Welcher Tag ist heute?
5. November
What year?
Welches Jahr?
1986.
1986.
This poor. Can you fucking imagine? Like,
Gleich wird jemand kommen, um dich abzuholen und sich um das zu kümmern. Und ich kümmere mich in der Zeit um Ulrich.
oh, is he gonna get in trouble?
Er wird dir nicht mehr wehtun. Das verspreche ich dir.
He didn't even do anything. God. I would just like try to go back into the cave, right? Like, what else could you do? Just try to like see if that did anything.
Der Junge, den du geschickt hast, findest du das lustig?
Welcher Junge?
He actually doesn't know what he's talking about.
Haben wir schon wieder gesoffen?
Wie bitte?
Ob sie schon wieder gesoffen haben?
Wer glaubst du eigentlich, wer du bist? Ich will genau wie du, dass wir deinen Bruder finden.
I doubt as badly, since it's his brother.
Und wenn du morgen diesen Posten hier antrittst, trägst du nicht nur die Verantwortung für das AKW, dann trägst du auch die Verantwortung für die ganze Stadt.
That's kind of fucked up
Jetzt sag mir,
to
dass
say
ich
to her.
mich nicht in dir getäuscht habe.
So whatever is happening, you want her to cover it up to save people's jobs. But like, what if in the future
Dann sollte ich umso mehr wissen, was das zu bedeuten hat.
a Chernobyl happens? Then none of them have a future.
Wenn die in Panik geraten, steigert die ganze Herde sich gemeinsam da rein. Ein Teufelskreis, da plumpsen die um. Wie die Viecher.
Really?
Und was kann so eine Panik auslösen?
Alles Mögliche.
Like what?
Auch ein Mensch?
Ein einzelner Mensch, solange er nicht Freddy Krüger ist, muss er sich schon ziemlich ins Zeug legen.
Is he?
Hatte eines von diesen Schafen ich meine, fällt dir mein auf?
He's trying to blame it on Ulrich.
Nein. Alle so, wie der liebe Gott sie geschaffen hat.
Kennst du dich mit Satanisten aus?
I don't think that he's a
Das waren
Satanist.
Satanisten? Soweit ich weiß, machen die dann ziemlich großes Brimborium raus. Da müsstest du doch Spuren sehen auf der Wiese.
That was so gross. That was so gross.
Sehr seltsam.
What?
Komm mal.
I don't know that I want to see.
Platz. Auf beiden Seiten.
Okay.
Seltsam.
Noise.
Was wir wissen, ist ein Tropfen. Was wir nicht wissen.
Is an ocean. Yeah. Is it the cave? Like... I don't know if it's like Winden Caves, but it's similar.
Ich komme aus der Zukunft.
He did tell her.
Ich komme aus der Zukunft.
I wonder if she is just gonna think he's saying it because of the story in the magazine. What's in it? They jump scared me. Dead bird. I wonder if the birds and the power and all that stuff is from you going through the crossing. I had a feeling. What? Can they hear each other or no? Wait, maybe all of my theories are wrong. Is he making that machine that the Birdman has? Yeah, who is that? Who are you? So we were introduced in this episode to some of the adult characters in 2019's parents, or at least introduced to younger versions of them. We have Jana and Tronte, which is Ulrich's parents, which we've seen them before, but we just got introduced to younger versions of them. We have Helge, which is Peter's dad, the therapist guy. Charlotte, I don't know that we saw her parents, but we saw her. Jonas, we saw his grandmother Inez. Regina, we got introduced to her parents. Claudia and I don't know that we learned the police chief's name, but that was her dad. So yeah, there's just a lot of interesting sort of things in this episode. I kind of already want to go back and watch it again. Like, I kind of want to just watch all the episodes twice to see if I missed anything, because I feel like I definitely missed multiple things. Now, this episode was called Past and Present, and it's really interesting to me that there seems to be this really interesting sort of distinction, but also not distinction. I don't think distinction is the word I'm looking for, but there's this thin sort of membrane between the past and the present in the show. And things are repeating, and I don't know if they're repeating because the crossing is being used. I don't know if that's like the inciting event. So I don't know if Mikkel crossing over and going into 1986 is what caused the sheep and the birds and all that stuff. And I don't know if somebody else maybe crossed over, or like it's just like the ripple effects of his crossover is happening or are happening in 1986 and 2019, right? So like I don't know if that's like the inciting incident, and these are like the ripple effects that are sort of being felt throughout time because time has changed. Also, I do not know who Birdman is, or if he came into the future. I don't know if he is Mikkel. I don't know if he's Mads. I don't know if I'm like completely overthinking or underthinking, and that's why I don't know. I think it makes sense narratively if I can believe my own, ability to process things, which the show is could be challenging. Maybe there's like red herrings and things like that I'm just not picking up on, or just lots of things, subtleties that I'm maybe missing because it's my first watch through. But I think that it makes sense if Mikkel cannot get back to 2019, that it is possible that he is Michael, or Michael. I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name, but Eunice's dad. And I think that it could make sense that from his perspective that he thinks he had to do what he did in order to incite the events that caused Mikkel to go back in time in the first place, if that makes sense. Now, I think it's also possible that it's not him and that it doesn't make sense, because I'm not really sure, like, if two people who are the same person can exist in the same space at the same time. Like, I don't know how it works with with time travel and stuff in this show. So I could also just be talking utter shit, like I could be completely way off base. Birdman could be Mikkel. Birdman could also just be Mads. But actually, speaking of Birdman, I want to go back again because Mikkel looks a lot like Mads, right? So I want to see if the newspaper that said when is Mikkel, I want to see if that was actually Mads, because last time I speculated that it didn't make sense that Birdman could be Mikkel because he had the newspaper of Mikkel being missing. But it could be that he had the newspaper of Mads being missing. Okay, so the newspaper was about Mikkel, so I was right about that. I couldn't remember. But I don't know. Since time is sort of a character in this show as well, and like the idea that time isn't linear and that time is like a circle and complicated, I still think that it's possible that Birdman is Mikkel. However, I also think that it's very possible that, as I think I speculated in the first episode, honestly, just because their names were similar, I think it's also possible that Jonas's dad is Mikkel. Again, I'm not exactly sure how that would work, and I'm not exactly sure like why he wouldn't. I mean, I was gonna say, like, why would he not like want to look after Mikkel more? But also, like, what? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. That is my working theory, though. So we'll see how completely off base that probably turns out to be. But they made a point to say, like, in the beginning of the episode, like, Inez should stay late and work because she doesn't have a family to get back to. And then we know that in the future, that is Mikkel's, or not Mikkel, but Michael, probably pronounced way different than my stupid, weird American pronunciation of Michael. But, like, we know that that is his mom and Jonas's grandmother. We know that based off of, like, just what we've gathered so far, based off of, like, the pictures, the names, everything that happened, her having the letter, and then her being taken out of the picture, and, like, them not really having a lot to do with her post June 21st, 2019. So we know that she has a child in 2019. It just makes sense that Mikkel could be Michael, right? Like, that just makes logical sense. It's just like A to B. Now, the show is not just A to B. I feel like it's like A to F to Z to P to Q to L. You know what I mean? Because, like, time is jumping all around. So I don't know if, like, my linear way of thinking that, like, Mikkel equals Michael because of the information we've been given is incorrect or not. But he told her he came from the future. It would make sense that she would take the letter and that this would be like a secret that they had together if she ended up raising him and believing him, right? So yeah, I don't know. We're just gonna have to keep watching and see if that is correct at all. I feel really bad for Mikkel at this stage because it's not just you got lost and you can't find your family and, you know, you want to return to them, but they're far away, or it's difficult to return to them, but eventually you can with help. It's like, it's literally impossible where he is now to get back to where he was then. Or not impossible. I don't want to say it's impossible because there could be a way, but he has no idea how. And, like, my only thought was go back to Winden Cave, go back in the cave, come back out, see if that works. That's what he did. It doesn't appear to have worked. However, there was this really interesting thing where Ulrich heard him calling for help when they were both in the cave, even though presumably they were 33 years apart. And I assume that that has to do with, like, the thin sort of membrane, like I talked about, that exists seemingly between time in this world. So I'm really curious how that's going to tie together. We did not see the serial killer guy at all in this episode. Excuse me. So I'm really curious as to, like, how Eric's disappearance is going to play into this, how Mads's disappearance is going to play into this, like, how those are related to Mikkel and to time travel and to all of that stuff. I don't know if they are, but it feels like they should all be related. So I'm really interested to just keep watching and try to, like, put those pieces together. We also didn't see too much of actually any maybe of Birdman in this episode. I'm sorry if you guys hate that I call him Birdman. I have no idea what his name is. So that's what I call him, because the first time we saw him, he was with a dead bird. Maybe I should call him hotel guy, mystery man. Like, I don't know. Let me know if it bothers you guys that I call him Birdman. But yeah, there's also this really interesting sort of thing that's happening with 33 and the months of the year, right? So, like, I mean, obviously, Mikkel went missing on November 5th, 2019, and he appeared on November 5th, I believe. Or was it 6th? It might have been November 6th, 1986, right? So November is very, like, important here. I mean, if only because that's when the, inciting incidents are happening, not necessarily because November in and of itself is, like, important. So it's also interesting, like, the 33 sheep, it's been 33 years. There was definitely more than 33 birds, but, like, it's weird that it's 33 sheep and 33 years between these two things. Like, so that's why I'm saying I don't know if him crossing over has, like, some sort of ripple effect that is affecting other things. Because I don't know if, like, the energy that's being used, right? Because energy can't be created or destroyed, right? It can just, or maybe it can be created. I don't know. Let me look it up. I know, like, energy can't be destroyed, so it has to go somewhere. So let me look it up because I don't want to be dumb on Maine. Like, I am, but, like, I don't want to say something incorrect. Yeah, okay, I was correct. So energy can't be created or destroyed. It can just be, like, transferred from one thing to another. So I don't know if, like, crossing through time requires energy, and the energy that it is expelling is what is killing the sheep and maybe the birds. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's just what I'm thinking. I like that we saw Charlotte with the bird in 1986, and now we're seeing Charlotte with the birds in 2019, because obviously she's, like, putting together that something is happening, right? Also, just as, like, a random little aside, I don't know if it's actually random, but I think it's really funny that Ulrich was, like, this sort of anarchist view of the world as a teenager, and then, like, the last person you would expect to become a police officer, and then as an adult he became a police officer. So I just think that that's an interesting sort of change, and I'm curious as to what happened between then and now to precipitate that change. I also think that it makes sense for him to really be, like, super, like, fuck the world right now, because his brother went missing. His mom is kind of catatonic, and his dad, it seems, is just preoccupied elsewhere. Now, I don't know if his dad having this affair is a coping mechanism for his son being missing, a coping mechanism for his wife pulling away in such a drastic way, which is obviously her coping mechanism as well. So, like, I don't know if those are the root causes, or if he was already having an affair and then he just continued to seek comfort because his child is missing. Yeah, I don't know. I think that losing a child is really hard on a marriage. Like, it just, from the things that I've seen, it's a very difficult thing for people to get through. Just in general in life, like, how could you ever expect someone to be the same after going through an event like that? Like, you wouldn't be. And their son never came home, as we know. So they had to mourn him, like, they buried an empty casket and they had to just continue on with their lives. But, like, how could you ever, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I feel bad for their characters, and I feel like Mads' disappearance, Eric's disappearance, like these things have to somehow be related to either Winden Caves or just something, right? Because Mikkel, he just went through the cave and came out the other side. Like, we know that's what happened to him. But what happened to Mads? What happened to Eric? Like, what is this weird light blue room that they're being kept where the energy is being expended to, like, do something, right? Because whatever that device is, it's doing the same thing that happened to the sheep, because they said in the last episode that, hold on, let me see. They said that, like, the sheep, the dead kid that they found, like, his inner ears were all fucked up, and, like, all the grains of where they're supposed to be were all, like, messed up. And then the sheep, they said that the eardrums were ruptured. So I don't know if whoever the serial killer person is like co-opting some sort of natural thing and making it unnatural with that to, like, I don't know what the purpose is yet. It's also really interesting that Ulrich's dad gave Regina's mom, Claudia is her name, right? He gave her the book, which was A Journey Through Time, which Birdman has currently. And then there's also the old guy who I think might be the guy who wrote the book, whose name was H.G. Townhouse. Again, that might be a real author and I might just be wrong. But he was making the device that Birdman has, which presumably is a device with which you can travel through time. I don't know. I also think it's interesting that Hannah and Ulrich were talking about a world without Winden. And I mean, obviously it's clear why he would feel that way. I think that she didn't necessarily feel the same way, but she liked him and wanted to bond with him. However, I think it's interesting that they had that conversation and they talked about, like, is this the apocalypse? Because I wonder if this could be some sort of post-apocalyptic, I mean, it's not post-apocalyptic, pre-apocalyptic sort of story about, like, the dangers of traveling through time. I don't know. I just think it's interesting that they brought up the apocalypse. Birds are dying. Sheep are randomly dying. This nuclear power plant is clearly practicing unsafe practices and have been since 1986, at least, I mean, prior to 1986, since at least then. And when Chernobyl happened, they didn't stop. They just sort of went underground with the shady shit that they were doing. So I don't know if that has to do with that. I don't know. I don't know, you guys. I'm trying to figure it out. I feel like this episode gave us a few answers, or at least insights into certain things, and then just sort of brought up a lot more questions regarding other things. We also saw that Peter's dad, Helge, his dad, Bernard, something like that, used to run the power plant before Regina's mom, Claudia, took it over, right? So I wonder if Helge knew the secret of the nuclear power plant, and that's why he was saying, like, it's happening again, or what? I'm not sure. I'm also curious as to what the barrels are That's what they were getting rid of in the first episode. Or the second episode, maybe. Yeah, the second episode, when Alexander, who currently runs the power plant in 2019, he was talking to Jurgen, and he was saying, get rid of this stuff. And it was obviously those barrels, but what is in those barrels, and why is it so dangerous? That I don't know. We saw some more of Regina and like where she came from, and like her mom and her dad. Her dad was the police chief, and her mom ran the power plant as she got older. Her mom also like shamed the fuck out of her on the way to school that day, so yeah, that was troubling. And she just, you know, she really seemed like she was struggling back then. It seems like she's struggling now in 2019, and that she kind of like, I mean, she was struggling with the hotel, and then now she's struggling. It seems maybe she feels a lump, so could be breast cancer. And I don't know. I feel really bad for her character, because they've not shown us really any instances where she's had like happiness or anything sort of akin to that. So yeah, I don't know that there's anything else that I want to specifically decipher or try to figure out in this episode. Sort of the overarching thing, I think, is like we are split between these two times at the moment, right? We're in 1986 and we're in 2019, and somehow what separates 1986 and 2019 has to do with Winden Caves. There's a crossing. We know that from last episode. We know that from Mikkel being in 1986 in the first place. We know that there's like somebody killing people in 1986, but also in 2019 at the same time. We know that birds are dying. We know that the power plant has a secret. We know that everybody's interpersonal relationships are all kinds of fucked up and intertwined and incestuous in a way, possibly literally, looking at Marta and Jonas. Yeah, there's just a lot of really complicated interpersonal dynamics and also time-related shenanigans happening, and I am really excited to keep watching this show and to try to figure out what is happening, because I don't know how Mikkel crossed over in the first place. I don't know how Ulrich heard Mikkel. I don't know how they're occupying the same space kind of at the same time, but also at two completely different times. And I'm also curious if like 2019 Ulrich and them remember seeing this kid in 1986, and I wonder if they're gonna be able to like comprehend and put it together and figure out, because yeah, it's just like, how could you, but also like how could you not? I also think it's really interesting that there was that 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 sort of like flickering at the end of the episode, and I'm not really sure exactly what that was. Let me look at it for a second, because I'm almost done talking. But I just want to figure out if like they showed us anything during that time. This person with the hoodie on, I think we've seen a few times, and he's driving an Audi, I believe. Or is it just supposed to be Ulrich? I'm curious if that car with like the Win DS477 plate is supposed to be Ulrich or not, because like that person had their hood on and like the jacket zipped, and then Ulrich doesn't. So I don't know if it's supposed to be the same or not. But I'm just gonna, think about it. And yeah, I don't know if that's supposed to be like serial killer person or somebody else. I don't know. Yeah, I think that excuse me. I think that's all that I really have to say about this episode. I think that like everybody is really going through a lot of shit, and it's understandable that they are confused and unsure, and like, yeah, I am also confused and unsure, essentially, and I can't wait to watch the next one and figure out maybe a little bit more about what's happening, maybe also just be further confused by what's happening. Who knows? Thank you guys so much for watching this episode with me, though. If you want, you can watch the next one right now over on Patreon. If you're watching this on YouTube, while you're over there, you can also watch my entire full-length reaction to this episode and the previous 2 episodes, which are also over there as well. I hope you guys are enjoying this journey as much as I am and the mystery of it all. I hope to see you guys next week for more. Until then, bye guys.